5 years ago, I was in a job I hated. I was bored, I was unmotivated, I was definitely unchallenged. I used to spend my days alone in my office surfing the internet. Please don't let my old boss see this video. And there I found a tribe of people who were doing things a little bit differently. They were saying no to the traditional life plan of college, job, retire, die. Inspired by people such as Rolf Potts and Tim Ferriss, they were using the new Web 2.0 tools to build new work-from-anywhere businesses. I was hooked. So in 2008, I quit my job and I moved to a beach town in the south of Spain. This is me. It was a fantastic time. I did lots of yoga, I disconnected, I got balanced, I ate a lot of tapas and drank a lot of cheap Spanish wine. Great time. But I was a little bit lonely, so 3 years ago, I moved back here to the Big Smoke, back to London. But I've been interested in new ways of working ever since. I was intrigued recently to read a survey by Gallup, which said 71% of employees are not engaged or actively disengaged in their work, 71%. And I think this is really interesting because it sort of ties with, I guess, our idea of what work is, that Protestant work ethic. Work is bad, life is good, and work must be bad because why else would we get paid to do it? But I think this is maybe an old concept of what work is, because as we all know, having meaningful work in our lives, a reason, like you said, to get up in the morning is something that definitely makes us happy. But of course, the converse is also true, that to have a bad work environment, whether that's through lack of control or lack of challenge and responsibility, having a toxic boss, or perhaps just feeling that your values don't match the organization that you're working for, these can create incredibly unhappy situations. But what is what's the answer? Should we all just grab our laptops and become digital nomads? Well, for quite a long time, I really thought that this was the only true answer to happiness at work. However, in more recent times, I've changed my mind. I think many of us, myself included, would like the security of a salary. We'd like to work in teams. We like the sociability now and again of the office. And I think the world of work itself is changing, albeit slowly. And the millennials, those 18 to 34-year-olds, are really, they're now sort of entering the workplace or shifting to management positions. And these people are really shaking up the world of work from the inside out. They're looking for flexibility. They're looking to take responsibility. They're hyper-connected. So things are changing. But I wanted to share with you today 3 characteristics of digital nomads that I think companies and organizations can learn from in order to make more engaged employees and happier workplaces, and also share with you some stories of some companies that are already doing this right now. So the first characteristic is distributed. So I know many people who would love to go live somewhere else, maybe move to the country for the sake of their children, maybe try out a new city, or even, like myself, move to another country. But they're afraid that the work opportunities that they seek won't be in the place they would like to be. And also that they may like where they live, but again, they're not really finding that the work is there for them that fulfills their talents and their ambitions. One company that is already looking in terms of having a distributed workforce is WordPress. So WordPress was set up by 19-year-old Matt Mullenweg in 2003. Today, this blogging platform powers 1 in 6 websites out there on the internet, with 100,000 being added every day. So the parent company of WordPress, Automatic, is technically based in San Francisco. But however, they don't have what you would normally consider a software company to have, fancy offices with slides and fridges full of beer and pool tables. Instead, their workforce of 120 people are distributed over 26 countries in 6 continents. In this way, WordPress can get to hire the best people in the world for their organization, but the employees get to live in the country that they wish, whether that's Argentina or living in Amsterdam. The employees and the team stay in contact through video, microblogging, and instant messaging. And instead of having a big fancy office with overheads, WordPress has a travel budget, so any team can get together in places like Hawaii, Mexico, or New Zealand. The second characteristic is this, of course, about flexibility. So as a digital nomad, we can work anywhere, we can work when and how we like. As long as the work gets done, it really doesn't matter whether it's done between 9 and 5 or 5 and 9, whatever. And I think anybody who was here during London during the Olympic Games saw the citywide experiment in flexible working. So instead of everybody trying to get on the same train to go to the same place in the city of London for 9 a.m., employees staggered their start and finish times. They experimented with working at home, and it was a huge success. So if anybody was here during the time, they know that you could actually get on a train before 9 a.m., which is something that's not very often here in London. And an interesting survey that came out of this time, a survey of SMEs who implemented or tried a flexible working policy. 50% of the organizations said that they would keep the policy or implement it. And very interestingly, 72% of millennials who took the same survey said that this type of flexible working was crucial to them staying with the organization. One company that is embracing flexibility is another software company. It's 37 Signals. This is the CEO, Jason Fried. They noticed that the summer period was a little bit quieter than the rest of the year. So between May and October, they experimented with having a shorter work week, 4 days a week, with the employee being able to take the extra day off, Friday or whichever day they wished. And they said that this is a really interesting experiment and actually helped with employees' productivity. So Jason Fried said that when you have a compressed work week, you tend to focus on what's important. And that he said that constraining time encourages quality time. And I remember my first job at a university, it was just the complete opposite of this. It was like FaceTime and being there was the aim of the game. And the quality of work was sort of judged on how many hours you put in rather than what you were doing well. And the aim was to stay as late as possible, hopefully till after the partners were left, and then you could skulk out the door. And whereas I think this is a completely antiquated way of looking at work, it's still incredibly common. And Kimberly Elsbach and colleagues at the University of California did a very interesting piece of research recently, which showed that this passive FaceTime, so being seen at the office without interaction, that employees who were seen during normal work hours were described by their managers as sort of dependable and responsible, whereas employees that took part in extracurricular FaceTime, so coming in early in the morning, maybe staying late, coming in on weekends, were described as committed and dedicated. And very interestingly, this study, and quite sadly, showed that these projections onto their employees were subconscious, so the managers weren't aware that they were doing it. So the last characteristic I wanted to share with you is that of sort of building conscious businesses and conscious employees. So many digital nomads I know, they're creating value through their work, through their values. They're creating meaningful and inspiring work. They're also contributing and giving back to their communities. And one interesting company that is doing this right now is Mindvalley in Kuala Lumpur, who have a mission to be the world's greatest workplace by 2020. And they have a fantastic place to work, and they attract people from all over the world. And Vishen, their CEO, says that the priorities of the company are planet, customers, employees, and profits in that order. And they spend a lot of their profits on helping nonprofit organizations and initiatives in Asia, but also around the world. And they let their employees take a significant amount of time off so they can volunteer as well. Another interesting thing that's happening is around things about consciousness and yoga and meditation in the workplace. And Google, of course, is quite famous for their 20% time rule, where any employee can take 20% of their time to work on individual projects. But I think something that's more interesting that Google is doing is this program, Search Inside Yourself. Search Inside Yourself was devised and is taught by one of the original Google engineers. He's incredibly rich now, Chad Menpang. And he has devised this 7-week course which teaches employees to train their attention, to develop self-knowledge and self-mastery, and to create useful mental habits. Other organizations, there's lots of them, but another good example is General Mills, who have brought yoga and meditation and embedded it right into the workplace. And participants in those initiatives have said that now 89% of them consider themselves to be better listeners, and 80% of them consider themselves to be better decision makers, which is all really key things in terms of building conscious leaders who have a good impact on their employees rather than being that terrible, toxic boss. So I just wanted to finish with an example of an organization that is doing the opposite of all these. They will remain nameless, but I recently met a young woman at a dinner party right here in London. She worked for one of the big investment banks. She had spent a year with this organization, and she was completely burned out. She was very, very stressed, incredibly overworked. She'd lost touch with her family in Canada. She was sort of alienating her friends here in London because she never had any time for them. Her health was completely deteriorating because she didn't have time to exercise or eat properly. I think we can all recognize this in probably some of the jobs that we've done in the past. But it all came to a head one Friday afternoon when her 32-year-old boss suffered his third heart attack. And on the Sunday, when he discharged himself from the hospital and came back to work, she went, "I'm not going to end up like you." And she quit. And she's now, safe to say, she's much happier in another organization. But my future of work is one that these types of organizations, especially here in the City of London, are dinosaurs and relics of another age. Thank you.